Some films stay with you for a day, some stay for a week, and then there are films that plant something inside your head, something you cannot name, and it just keep growing. Welcome to a channel built for exactly those kind of films. Today, before Drishyam 3 changes everything, let us go back to where it all began. He never ran, he never bribed anyone, he never hired a lawyer in advance. He had no backup plan, no connections, no money, no education beyond the fourth grade. All he had was a mind that had spent its entire life watching movies. And when the most powerful woman in the police department came for his family, he beat her twice. This is George Kutty. And before Drishyam 3 changes everything this week, you need to remember exactly how we got there. George Kutty runs a cable TV network in a small coastal village in Kerala. He is not rich, he is not educated. He dropped out of school in the fourth grade and built his entire business with his own hands. But George Kutty has one obsession: movies. He has watched hundreds of them. He has studied them the way other men study engineering. He notices how stories are built, how the police think, how human memory is unreliable, how a small detail remembered by the right person at the right time can change everything. He absorbed all of it, not consciously, not as a preparation for anything, just because he loved watching movies. His world is simple: his wife Rani, his elder daughter Anju, his younger daughter Anu, a small house, a cable network, a life built on nothing but hard work and love. That is the life they were living when everything ended. Varun Prabhagar is the son of Inspector General of Police. He is young, entitled, untouchable. During a school nature camp, Varun secretly filmed Anju in a compromising situation, and instead of keeping it buried, he came back at night to their home while George Kutty was away. He stood in front of Rani and Anju with that recording, and he made his position very clear: "Do what I say, or I will destroy you." Rani pleaded. She begged him to leave, to just walk away. He did not walk away. As things escalated and Varun became more aggressive, Anju grabbed a nearby object and struck him on the head. She was trying to stop him, to protect her family, to make it end. It ended. Varun Prabhagar did not survive. This is the moment George Kutty's life split in two. When he came home and saw what had happened, he did not panic. He did not call the police. He did not run. He sat down and he thought. And what he thought changed everything. Here is what George Kutty understood in that moment. The police do not catch criminals by finding the truth. They catch them by finding the gaps in a story. So there must be no gaps. He picked a date, October 2nd, a public holiday, a day his family would take a small trip to Todupuzha, and on that trip they would be seen by hotel staff, by a cinema ticket counter, by a bus conductor, by a restaurant owner. Not just seen, remembered. He made sure of it. He argued with the ticket counter employee. He spoke loudly at the hotel. He made small scenes that would stick in people's mind. Every single witness would remember the George family was in Thodupuzha on October 2nd. And October 2nd was the day Varun Prabhakar disappeared. But the body still existed. George Kutty buried it in the backyard of a nearby construction site. Not just any construction site, a police station being built. When the foundation was poured and the concrete set, Varun Prabhagar was inside it forever. Or so it seemed. The Inspector General of Police would eventually hold a function to inaugurate that station. She would stand on top of her own son's grave and she would not know it. Geeta Prabhagar, the IG, is not a woman who accepts loss. When her son disappeared, she investigated with everything she had. She brought in her most ruthless officer. She turned the village inside out. They brought the entire family in: George Kutty, Rani, Anju, and Anu, the younger daughter, still just a child. They separated them and they broke them one by one. George Kutty held, Rani held, Anju held, but Anu could not endure it. Under the pressure of that interrogation, she told them Varun was buried in the backyard of their house. The police rushes to dig. They found nothing, only a calf's remain, because George Kutty had already moved the body long before any of this began. His cover story held October 2nd, Todupuzha and the witnesses. The case collapsed. Geeta Prabhakar stood at the inauguration of the new police station. A ceremony, cameras, flowers, and somewhere beneath her feet, what she believed was her son. That is where Drishyam 1 ends. Not with triumph, not with peace, with a family that survived, and a woman who lost everything and knows it and cannot prove a single thing. 6 years have passed. George Kutty now owns a small cinema theater. The cable TV days are behind him. The family has moved forward on the surface, but underneath, nothing has moved at all. Rani cannot sleep without nightmares. She carries the weight of what she told Geeta under interrogation, the confession that could have destroyed them, and it lives inside her like an open wound. Anju has changed, quiet, withdrawn, carrying something she cannot put down. And George Kutty, the man who saved them, watches his family suffering and knows that the thing he protected them from is still there, living inside them every single day. Then the case reopens. Geeta Prabhakar's husband, broken by grief, destroyed by his son's disappearance, a crime branch officer is assigned to investigate Varun's disappearance again. Fresher eyes, new methods, and this time they dig. They excavate beneath the police station and they find bones, a skeleton, exactly where George Kutty had originally buried Varun all those years ago. The police are certain this is Varun. This is the proof they have been waiting 6 years for. They arrest George Kutty and his family. They take them to the court with what looks like the strongest evidence they ever had. On top of that, they produce a crime novel, a written story whose plot matches the case almost exactly. A story that seems to show George Kutty's method, his thinking, his plan, written in his own hand. For the first time in the story, it looks like George Kutty has lost. But here is what nobody in the courtroom understood. George Kutty had seen this moment coming years before it arrived. Think about what he knew after the first film ended. He knew the police suspected him. He knew Geeta would never stop. He knew that one day, maybe 5 years later, maybe 10, someone would get a warrant and dig under the station. Quietly, without telling anyone, George Kutty had made arrangements. Through contacts he had built over years in the film industry, through people he had come to know, he got hold of another human skeleton, one that was similar in age and size to Varun, and he made a switch. Varun's real remains were removed, and in their place, the other skeleton was positioned carefully exactly where the police would find it. But the original remains could not simply disappear. George Kutty dissolved Varun's real bones in acid completely until there were nothing left that could ever be tested or identified. So when the police dug under the station and found a skeleton, they found exactly what George Kutty had placed there for them to find. And when the court ordered a DNA test to confirm the skeleton was Varun, the results came back negative. The bones did not match Varun Prabhakar's DNA. No match, no body, no evidence. In court, George Kutty's lawyer turned the entire prosecution case around. The police had built their theory on the similarity between that crime novel and the real events. His lawyer argued the opposite, and it was the police who were following the plot of a story to frame an innocent man, that their whole case was built on a coincidence they had chosen to see a proof. With no body and no direct evidence, the court had nothing. George Kutty and his family walked free. George Kutty is free, but watch his face when you understand what freedom has cost. He had planned for the police, he had planned for the court, he had planned for the DNA test and the skeleton and the lawyers. There is one thing he could not plan anyway. Before the second film ends, George Kutty does something that nobody expected. Quietly, secretly, he arranges for Varun's parents to receive a small portion of Varun's real remains. Not enough to prove anything, not enough to reopen a case, just enough for them to perform the final rites, for a mother to say goodbye to her son. He never admits anything, he never explains, he simply makes sure that somewhere in a private, grieving family can have that one small piece of closure. That single gesture tells you everything about who George Kutty really is. He is not a monster. He is a father who made an impossible choice, and he has lived inside that choice every single day since. Rani's guilt has not disappeared. It never will. She carries the weight of everything she confessed, everything she survived, everything she cannot speak about. Anju is a young woman now, carrying something she did not choose and cannot put down. And George Kutty lights a candle at the church. Is it gratitude? Is it guilt? Is it prayer for Varun? Jitu Joseph does not tell you, because some things cannot be answered. They can only be carried. The makers left one line as the tagline for Drishyam 3. Years passed, the past didn't. That is the entire setup for what comes next. Varun's real remains are gone. The skeleton under the police station was not his. The DNA test cleared George Kutty completely. On paper, there is no case, there is no body, there is no crime. But Geetha Prabhakar is still alive, still broken, still certain. And Varun's parents received those remains, which means someone helped them receive those remains, which means someone out there knows something. What does a woman do when she knows the truth but cannot prove it? What does a family do when the secret they carry already began to crack them from the inside? What does a man do when every plan he has ever made has worked and he still cannot sleep at night? Drishyam 3 opens in theaters on May 21st, 2026, this week. And if the story of George Kutty has taught us anything, it is that most dangerous moment is not the crime, it is the silence after. The silence that knows your name. That is the story of George Kutty so far. A man who never fired a shot, never raised his voice in a courtroom, never asked for anyone's help, and yet he beat the system twice. If this video helped you remember the story before watching part 3, leave a like. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who love cinema the same way we do. If you are new here, subscribe. This channel exists for films that deserves more than a star rating, films that deserves to be understood. And after you watch Drishyam 3, come back to the comments, tell me what you thought, tell me what you noticed, tell me what broke you. Also, if there's a film or a story you think that deserves this kind of breakdown, drop it below. The next video might be because of you. Until then, some men use weapons, some men use money. George Kutty used his mind. And somehow, that was the most dangerous thing of all.